Hey guys, sunrise in Masada, and there is also a ritual of Jewish soldiers that is happening. How did you say that it's called?
What?
This ritual?
I don't know what it's called.
Okay.
Just turn your head the other way. More.
Well, I will stay with my eyes on them. They have some kind of ritual here on top of this acropolis.
Guys.
So that's, we have the Dead Sea in front. That's the lowest place on Earth, minus 430 meters below sea level. And this is the sunrise.
She was ever one of those guys?
Well, the sun is...
Really?
The light actually confuses this camera. It's interesting how it affects its functions.
Why she knows about this? They carry.
Wow, it's crazy. Because they need to practice just in case by war someone gets wounded. So they put them in a soldier. They switch people from... One guy has, see the guy in the back running?
Yeah.
He has the phones. Either medical stuff or the phones. Like
They're not, nothing's actually happening. Right?
No, it's just they do this for the...
Guys holding like a freaking massive thing.
Which one?
I don't know if that's a hiker.
It's probably stretcher poster. Look at the sun.
Sonny, look straight.
I have service up there. You can look up the history.
Sonny, look straight. Got my knee. You came in for sunrise?
Yeah, it's nice.
A few hours you're gonna be freaking shifting up here?
That's why we don't know where to get them.
Send that to me. Sonny, like, can you do anything from, like, this?
Everybody came here for the sunrise. So we've seen the sunrise. Now I have to tell you a bit about this thing. This place, as I said, over there is the Dead Sea. We have the Moat Mountains, and we are south of Israel in the west side of the Dead Sea, south of Jerusalem, I'm sorry. We are standing on the Acropolis that is really high. On the east side, over there, it's a sheer drop of 400 meters. And on the west side, they're about 90 meters. It has a rhomboid shape, and it has a length about 550 meters and a width of about 270 meters. Well, you might say that it's almost impregnable, but there's a story to it. And this story says that it was built by Hasmoneans in the 1st century before Christ. And then, in 31 before Christ, when Herod the Great ruled Judea, being also a Roman client king, he started to build here a winter residence. Well, the story says also that it was a place where he wanted to be safe with his family due to rebellions or wars or something like that. And it's quite a perfect place to feel safe. So after 6 years, he finished to construct lots of palaces. All this plateau, it's packed with palaces, small, big, wide palaces, lavish palaces actually. And first I'm going to show you here the surroundings, because the view it's also beautiful. So after he built this place, he died in 6th after Christ. His son followed, Herod Agrippas. But then in 67 the Roman-Jewish war started, and there were lots of factions among Jews back then. The Zealots were probably the first ones who carried the heavy burden fight against Romans. Here is the cisterns of water. I'm going to talk about that a bit later. And somewhere at the end of this Jewish-Roman war, a group of Jews, they called themselves Sicari. The name was after the band daggers that they used to wear with them, called Sika. This Sicari fled from Jerusalem, and they came here. They killed the Roman garrison, because here at that point a Roman garrison stood, and they took the place. Well, from here they attracted lots of other Jews, and they became in high number here, and they used to attack Roman convoys and also the nearby villages. They killed in a nearby village about 700 people, also Jews, women and childs, and they were really savage. Well, here on the north side there are 3 terraces at least with the royal palaces. They can be accessed through some stairs, and probably later we're going to have a look from up there. So in 73 the Romans couldn't accept this situation, and the 10 legion started to gather people. So they had about 7,000-8,000 fighters and about same number of slaves, mainly Jewish. But as I said, it's almost impossible to conquer this place because you can't enter inside, sheer drop. So the Romans decided, after they arrived here, they said, okay, so we cannot climb the walls of this Acropolis, but we can build a bridge. So if you look at this hill, this is not a natural hill, this is a man-made hill. The Romans did it, with the slaves of course, but you can see this entire ramp, it was built by human hands. In 3 months they built this hill, so they will have the connection between the other side with the Acropolis, because you can see how deep and sheer drop are the walls. So in this way they manage to conquer the place and to take the city. There are also marks of the camps. There were at least 7 camps, because at first when you start a siege you make a wall of siege so you can be protected at first, and then to know not letting anyone getting in or out of the city. 2 entrances on this site today. One is the one that the Romans did it almost 2,000 years ago, and the other one on the east side was the main one used also during Jewish construction. That is called the Snake Trail or the Snake Path. Well, it's interesting what happened when the Romans, after they built this ramp, they enter into this fortress and they found everybody that they were dead. So the Jews committed mass suicide, which is against their religion actually. It's a huge sin of taking your own life, but they found reasons to do it, mainly due to the fact that the Romans weren't quite nice when they took prisoners, especially with men. If not, enslaving was the best choice, and this is what Jewish hated more, to be a slave under the Romans. And the women and children were taken slaves, of course, usually. So they decided to kill themselves, and they did it. Today the Jews are actually celebrate this kind of behavior, considering that they did an heroic act, because they were looking for freedom. But it's a debatable subject. Well, if we've seen that we have palaces over palaces here on the plateau, you might ask yourself where the people the slaves stood, or the people who were responsible for well-being of royal family and their guests, because those palaces were dedicated especially to the guests. Well, they were living in caves. There are lots of caves at a foothill, and also on the south side over there, right after the edge, there are lots of caves. Really, they are coming really close, so I don't think they are really scared about people. But they have a beautiful song. I have no idea what's the name of this bird. About the cave, well, the cave were in one of those caves. From there they found 10,000 years seeds of barley, and they also managed to germinate those seeds, so it's quite an interesting thing. The conclusion is that even back then they were really good in domesticating this kind of plants, so lots of resemblance of that barley back then with what they are still growing today. So it's an interesting thing. What is it? Huh? Hmm? Yeah. Finally. Well, I said I will come back to this cave. It's actually a cistern of water, a reservoir. Herod the Great actually managed to do amazing thing here on this top of the hill, which is obviously without water. It's a really dry zone. On the other side you can see the desert. It's the Judean Desert. We are standing actually on the east side of this desert, and he managed to control the water from the rain. They would gather the water in this type of cisterns, and also on the edge of the Acropolis we can see lots of other cisterns that gather the water. And they will bring the water with animals, and they carry it in the upper reservoirs, so the water could be used in palaces. But until we talk more, let's see something. Well, they definitely celebrated something. I have no idea what, but beautiful music. Those are the stairs that can access the other two second terraces. But now we're going to go here on the northernmost point of this Acropolis.
לא רוצה לעבוד.
First, you can see the east entrance. There is also a cable car here for the lazy ones. One of the Roman camps still there. Another one over there. And you can see the vertical at least 400 meters down there. Difference in elevation. Well, because we heard a music, a song, I want to do it also by giving you a small example of how the Jewish people are praying, and because when they pray they also sing and dance and they enjoy life. And there's a prayer that I like especially. It's called Avinu Malkeinu, and can be translated as Our Father, Our God. And they are singing it in special occasions.
Feel
Well, it's a beautiful prayer, I must confess. First time when I heard it, it was sang by Barbara Streisand. It's a beautiful interpretation, so you can look for it and listen to it. So I said that we're going to see also the Royal Palace. That's the second terrace, and that's the third terrace over there. Still with columns, Corinthian capitals over there. A beautiful, beautiful place to have a palace. They had also a pool here. The ritual of bathing was really important during Herodian's times, and it's something that says a lot here on top of this mountain to have so much water. But what were slaves for? So there we have the model of how it used to look.
Yeah, do you guys want to go and Swami, you guys want to climb up on there?
So we are standing now somewhere over here.
Everybody's over here. Just take a whole basket. Yo, David and Ali. Here, David and Ali, come. Let's get some pictures. Look, but also let's walk around on the
So this is Masada. Interesting place. See you next time.